I loved this question that randomly, well, there's a lot to unpack here. Randomly at like 8 to 9 in the morning, I found myself sitting at a table in a 3-bedroom grand villa at Boardwalk Villas across from Jeff Haslam. And his question to me was, tell me something I don't know about you. And I thought that was a great question. And so I am going to ask Panda today, Panda, tell me something I don't know about you.
I gotta think. I mean, I did TV commercials as a kid. I'm just thinking of something that's weird that you might not know.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Amy did not know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so there's a Mead Trapper Keeper notebook commercial. It's on YouTube. That's pretty popular. For real. No. If you go to YouTube, hold on.
Oh my God.
So they're asking where your homework is, and I come on with this shock video. My brother's holding it for ransom. $35,000 I get paid for that.
What?
And we were on welfare, so that was a great payday at the time.
Wow.
So we all need to get into commercials. That's all I heard.
But listen, I auditioned for like 10 of them, and I got, and they, it was a chubby Italian. They didn't ask for that for these commercials, but that's what I always obviously went for. That was my thing. And a lot of times I didn't fit with the bill, but for this Trapper Keeper notebook, they were just like, yeah, this is great. We're going to take this guy.
This is not the last time we're going to ask this
please send
question.
us that link so I could watch it at length.
I will. I'll send it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC show. I'm your host, Paul Krieger, and I'm joined this week, as always, by my lovely wife, Amy Krieger.
Hello.
The man on the spaceship to Pluto, John Sakari, aka Big Fat Panda.
Welcome home, peoples.
We've got Jeff Haslam in the house with us, as always.
I'm looking for him. I don't see him.
And the one, the only, the Derek DeBoer, DVC Resale Market.
Hey now. I'm just upset because I thought I was going to go say, so that was going to be my joke, was doing all this, and now all of a sudden you're cutting to Jeff's second, so he just stole my joke. So never mind.
That's because you derailed me so many times, like at that point, that I can't recover from it. And I just want to start this week's show. Thank you all for watching and listening. We started doing these like cold opens to this show probably several months ago at this point. Like, legit, these guys don't have any clue what I'm going to ask. And in between shows, I just went to the restroom and I didn't know what I was going to ask for this show, but it came to mind Jeff's question to me the other day. And how perfect does that end? Like,
that is a good question.
It's a great question, but I think it points to our friendship. It points to just how much fun we have together in all of these. And how that segues perfectly. Trapper Keeper, homework, teacher, students, because that is this week's episode of the DVC show. I can't write this stuff. It's absolutely
That's right.
insane.
It was in a school. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
There you go. And that is what this week's episode is all about. We are talking about some lesser known Disney Vacation Club rules. And our teacher in the house today, the one, the only Amy Krieger, wrote 2 amazing articles for DVC Fan on this topic. And so we were joking at the beginning of the show, why don't we just let the show run as Amy's our teacher and she's going to teach us these rules, and we will raise our hands and ask questions as we learn things or as we just want to cause chaos. You've missed teaching for so many years now.
Okay, I don't know how in depth I should go on camera, but so I taught in public schools for 11 years, 7th grade, English, and
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I left teaching to move to Florida with my lovely husband, and now I work for Monera. And that was like 3 years ago. I feel like it's been a while. So a lot of people don't realize, like, when you're a teacher, you are like creating your own content, creating your own lessons, and you're planning everything out. And you cannot, especially when you're working with middle school kids, like, you cannot let a second of, like, your transitions have to be smooth or they lose focus. And so, like, that's your worst nightmare, is like being in front of kids and not knowing what you're doing. So for some reason, I have not been a teacher for 3 years now. The last couple of months, I told Paul this. I was like, I keep having this dream that I'm back in my old classroom and I'm in front of all these kids and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm supposed to be teaching them and I have no clue what I'm doing. And it's happened like 4 times now. I've had this dream. I don't know what that means.
It's just something that gives you anxiety, and it's going to come up until
this is that dream
Right.
realized right
and
now.
And so when you said we should do the show, like you're the teacher and we're going to like heckle you, it's like I'm like deer in the headlights. Like this is a dream. It's coming back. It's like real life now.
Derek had his hand up. Do you want to call on him, or do you want me to?
I was just going to ask Mrs. Krieger, can I go to the restroom now?
I wish I could blow a spit wad at my camera right now.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to have a nightmare tonight. I just know it.
But anyhow, yes, this week's episode is all about, there's a lot of subtle rules when it comes to being a Disney Vacation Club member. And unless you are like us and you've spent hours upon hours reading 215 odd pages of offering statements and all of the wonderful stuff that gets filed when you have to file a timeshare in the state of Florida, unless in your spare time you like to read that like we do, then you probably don't know about some of it. But some of it is very interesting, and there are some unique rules that are out there as it comes to Disney Vacation Club. So we said, why not cover them? Amy's going to kind of talk about them, and we're going to learn what we can throughout the show. But before we get to that, as always, if you love our content here on DVC Fan, if you love this rowdy group of individuals, we would not be able to sit here and do this without the love and support of our sponsors over at World of DVC. DVC Resale Market. If you're looking to buy or sell a Disney Vacation Club contract, they can assist you in the process. Monera Financial can help you in financing that DVC resale contract purchase, and the DVC Rental Store, where you can try before you buy, rent some points, or rent out your own points. So please show some love to those amazing companies. But all right. I'm not gonna call her Mrs. Krieger, or else I'll get in trouble later. But
yeah, I haven't heard that for a long time. Just what you said. These are things. And when I wrote the first article at the end, I kind of was like, this might interest you, or you might have been bored out of your gourd. I don't know. And I literally use those words. But these are things that I just find so interesting, and because then things happen like during the pandemic where they changed the borrowing rules, and then everyone was like, well, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? And well, yeah, they can, and this is actually what used to be, and this is the rules. And so those are kind of things I just think are interesting to share, with our audience. So I figured we just get into it and we can talk about it and maybe what it means. And if you have any questions, and Paul just took the screen I was looking at, so.
Nope, go ahead.
So the first one I thought was really interesting is that the home resort booking window can change. So right now, everybody knows 11 months out, if you own that resort, you can book there. And then everyone else who has eligible points but not owning that resort has to wait until 7 months out. And that is something that can actually be changed by DVC. So in the home resort rules and regulations, it actually says, they always say the DVC operator can increase or decrease the length of the home resort period. However, it has to be at least 1 month. So they really only have to give owners 1 month of booking window before they open it up to everybody else. So I thought that was really interesting. One thing that they do use when it comes to this rule is that during the initial opening of each DVC resort, they also are allowed to modify the reservation windows to give a greater priority to those who own there, which we saw them do that at Riviera. We saw them do that at Disneyland, at Fort Wilderness, at the Grand Floridian. So even though you're already like within the 7 month window, they give like a little window for owners, and then open it up to everybody else. So I always thought that was a really interesting.
So just putting it into context, we can like we're talking about the home resort window. They can shorten that window.
Yeah, you could be 6 months for owners and 5 months for non-owners if they wanted to.
I wonder how they ever settled on 11 and 7. Like, I wondered how that was.
I know. I always wish it was
why
a
not?
year.
Why not an even year?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's an odd choice.
Oh,
Someone out there probably knows. Someone's probably studied this a lot more than we have, and actually.
Yeah,
knows.
where's Doc? Where's Webmaster Doc? when we need him?
We should have probably. Yeah, we should have
just
had
gonna
him
say
back for this show for sure.
Well, in an even year would be easier to like keep track of, right? Because you're like, okay, today is
Right.
May 16th, so I can book May 16th next year right now. Like that would be so much easier to think about.
Logical.
But I think Amy, and I think you might have mentioned it in your original article, that I think overall, if that ever does come about, it's a good thing, meaning for those owners at that resort. So you need to get a head start over people that don't own at that resort. So I would hope when the new Polynesian towers, whenever they decide to start taking that give owners of the Polynesian a jump start over someone that owns at a different resort, whether it's a month, 2 months, it's not going to be 11 months. We all know that, but give them a little bit of a head start. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Right. And we're hoping to see that at the Polynesian, at the tower, since we have Polynesian points. So, okay, let's scroll down so I can see the next one. Oh, you're already there. I thought it was that one. I'm sorry. So I feel like this is along a similar lines, is that they can impose. So the minimum night stay for any DVC member is 1 night. But they are allowed to impose periods of time. It could be like a holiday or a special event or a whole season or whatever, where they actually impose a minimum night requirement, and it can be up to 5 nights. So for like those of us that are local that book, like 1 night at a time, they can say, throughout the Christmas season, you must have, a 4-night stay, a 5-night stay. And you can't book anything shorter than X amount of nights.
I
That would
hope
be an issue.
that never comes about. That would be
Me too.
Because it almost reminds me of when I happen to look for like, hey, let's do a little staycation, not at Disney, but like say, oh, I found this really cool place on the beach. And you're like, this is awesome. This resort's perfect. It looks like it's available. You go to book it for 1 night or 2 nights, and they're like, no, it has to be 7. And you're like, oh, man, I can't do it. But don't do that with DVC points, because if they take that away, that one would infuriate me, because that's what makes us different from any other timeshare, is the ability to just say, check in any day you want, check out any day you want, stay for 1 night, come back the next week if you want. So yeah, I hope that one never comes to fruition.
I guess I just don't see the angle that they're going for with that one. Like, I understand the holiday policy and everything, but it doesn't matter who's staying there. It's like everyone's gonna spend money,
right? It's the same amount of points.
But they have to clean that room though. If you're staying for 1 night,
that's true.
You know how many one nights we used to do at Grand Villas, and I thought, wow, for 1 night, it's a lot of cleaning.
Yeah, that is a big housekeeping is a big point.
That could be a big,
because the more 1 nights there are, the more cleaning you got. But that would be kind of a slap in the face to local.
Oh yeah, big time.
Local DVC members.
All my stays are 1 and 2 nights, all of them.
Yeah.
So that would be hard.
I'll be like, I'm totally fine staying in a dirty room for 1 night.
I agree.
So this one comes up a lot in the DVC fan group, where people ask, about transferring points. And whenever we give advice on this topic, we always disclaimer it with, just so you know, points that are transferred are actually technically prohibited from receiving compensation. So that's why you can't go to DVC resale market and buy transfer points, because in the home resort rules and regulations document, it literally says the words expressly prohibited. So basically, transfer points are designed for, and we've done this before. So we booked a 2-bedroom villa with friends that were running the race with us, and we wanted to be together. So we called and we transferred them points so that they could, you know what I mean? That's what it's meant for friends and family members getting together, booking something maybe larger, or even giving, points to a member or something like that. But technically, you're not supposed to sell transferred points.
Yeah, we get that question a lot at rental store too, from members like trying to supplement their membership. Like, can I buy 25 points? No. There's obviously one-time use points within the 0 to 7 month booking window that you can supplement your membership with, but technically you cannot buy points to supplement your membership in a financial transaction like this. So it's got to be.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can members pool points together?
Yeah.
Let's say I had 100 points, Jeff has 100 points. We want a Grand Villa that's 200. We could do that?
Yep. So that's what the transfer is supposed to be for. But where the challenge comes in is that every member technically only gets one transfer per use year, in or out. So if you gave your points, transfer them to Jeff, and let's say all of us wanted to share, then we can't transfer any points to Jeff for that same booking because he already received a transfer for that year.
Okay, that's it for the year.
So
okay,
it's very limited. Yeah.
The other thing with transfer,
and it's kind of a pain, right?
Yeah.
Like you both have to be on the phone at the same time with member services, and you
they
have
don't
to know the secret handshake and stuff.
And then if you do, if Jeff had the points, like they don't show up all the time.
The technology doesn't always work
in your online account, so it causes chaos with that. And the other thing with transfers that a lot of people aren't familiar with is that transfers retain their home resort and their booking priority window. So Jeff owns primarily at Old Key West, Panda you own at Riviera. So if you transferred him those points, thinking that you guys were trying to get like a Grand Villa at Old Key West, you couldn't do that until the 0 to 7 month window came along to kind of use those points together. So they retain all of their same principles. So,
am I supposed to call on people? Is that how this
works?
works?
You're the teacher. I'm not running the show.
Yeah. What's up, Derek?
So, question, Mrs. Krieger. So, if I'm a member, am I only allowed to receive points once a year, or transfer points once a year, or does either or transaction count as one?
Either or counts as one. Yep. So it's one in or out.
Gotcha.
So that limits a lot. Yeah. And so that's why a lot of times when you see members, sometimes we'll see members on the Facebook group. They're like, hey, I've got 2 points left. I don't want them to go away. Does anybody want them? I'll transfer them to you. It's almost not worth it to take that one, those 2 points blow your one transfer for the whole year. So, you have to kind of think wisely about that. If you don't, if you may not ever need to transfer points in the future, then it doesn't matter. But we like to combine points and stuff with friends and sometimes book larger accommodations. So,
and there is one exception to that, and that is if you are transferring within your own membership. So people that own multiple contracts that have multiple use years, if you would want to transfer within your own membership, then you can do that, and I believe you can do that as many times as you want.
It's not a written rule. It's just the fact that DVC doesn't usually ever count members transferring amongst their own contracts against their one transfer, but they could if they wanted to.
Another question.
I think I know the answer to this. It's not my situation, but I'm going to ask as though it was. I have December use year points, and I also have, what's another use year month?
February.
February use year points. And they're both, making me crazy on my contract. Is there ever a way to say, hey, I would just like both of them to be December and somehow make this one? No, once it's done, use year, it's done.
You can sell the one contract with Derek over at DVC Resale Market and then buy the use year that you should have bought the first time around.
Okay.
And,
gotcha.
and that fixes your problem.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But
good to know.
So with that in mind, hey, you passed it up. Oh, hold on. Well, I guess. So
3 paragraphs.
Transfers are not supposed to receive compensation. However, renting is okay. And that is expressed throughout the documentation of the public offering statements and home resort rules and regulations. And the reason that renting is okay is because the largest renter of DVC points is DVC themselves. And they are calling it what it is with the new Poly Tower. They're even saying, cash rentals are available for DVC members to book starting this day. cash rentals are available for annual pass holders to book starting this day, and then everybody else on this day. So they are renting those points. They do it when they own the points. They do it when they get points through exchanges, like people exchange, into the cruise and the Disney collection. They get those points and they can rent them. The rental process for them looks different because you just see a cash stay on their website like you would book a hotel. So it's just a little different. But they mentioned renting several times throughout the documentation, and they do say commercial renting. They used to define commercial renting as one owner, one membership renting like more than 20 times. They removed that language. They didn't really attach a number to it anymore. But if you are just renting a couple times a year, or your points are not getting used. Paul and I rent a few times a year because we have not made it out to Grand Californian since we bought points there, because we lucked out and got to stay at the 7-month window with our Animal Kingdom points. The next year after that, we stayed at the Disneyland villas because they reopened. So the last 2 years, I'm not losing those valuable points. We rented them out to help defray the cost of some of our other travel. And so that's not commercial renting. The average normal renter who works with, like a business like DVC Rental Store, that's not commercial.
Yeah, we get that question a lot over at Rental Store. We have people that are like, I'm scared. Is Disney mad that I'm renting my points? It's like, no, Disney does not care that you are renting your points.
Do they know when you rent your points? Why couldn't you be giving it to a relative?
Technically, that Grand Villa this weekend was not our points, so we kind of were like renters. And did you notice any differences?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's all like, where's the burden of proof? So, we know how bad Disney's technology is as it is, so they have to do a lot of homework to figure out, if they want to call you a commercial renter. And I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't happen. I have seen it happen to people. I have seen people breach some of these rules.
We're talking excessive renting.
Yeah, we are talking excessive renting. We are talking people that break the rule of what they used to define as more than 20 reservations in a rolling calendar year. The other one that they've been very, very strict on over the years is how many points you own per membership. It's 4,000 per resort, or 8,000 across all resorts would be your maximums. And so if you breach that, or you breach that 20 limit, I think those are the things that then put you on their radar. And I mean, they can aggressively crack down on you if they suspect this.
Right.
But again,
at the end of the day, most of us don't own that many points.
If I had 4,000 points, I don't think I'd be sitting here doing this podcast right now. But
you'd be at work to pay the dues.
You'd be doing it from the Grand Villa that you live in.
That is exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But
hey. One more thing, just to kind of add to that, which is very, very important, is, but you guys, it's great that you brought up the difference between transferring point and renting points, just because there's a reason that World of DVC doesn't have a DVC transfer store. We don't have it. It's DVC rental store. But it's important for folks to know, just like Amy talked about too, is that why is it when I go online, there's no DVC availability for members, but I can still rent a room? That's what we hear all the time, is that people need to realize, like you said, Mrs. Amy, is that it's Disney owns, right? They sell 98% of all the inventory is for members. So that means there's 2% behind that is left for Disney to do whatever they want to do. So it's completely different inventory. So when you're logging in and you say, why is it booked? I don't understand, because I could rent it for $1,000 a night, but I can't use my points. It's completely different inventory. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and take that a step further. I mean, they do all of these exchanges through Disney Cruise Line, through Adventures by Disney.
Right, they don't just throw those points in the dumpster.
Yeah, they're not just taking your points and saying, hey, thanks, and then just not doing anything with them. They're renting rooms with them. And we spoke on one of our more recent shows about this and how we think that this is probably part of the strategic plan that Disney Vacation Club has embarked on. I think they've acknowledged the amount of money that they can make on rentals is significant. And why not do as much as possible themselves with these places like the cabins at Fort Wilderness, while also probably getting considerable tax breaks by having it and calling it a vacation club property. So they're benefiting on the tax breaks, the insurance, all of those categories while they're renting their rooms and making more money. We see Disney's quarterly earnings and everything. I'd love to see the breakdown for Disney Vacation Club because I imagine that number is much, much higher than we anticipate it being, rivaling kind of the sales numbers that they make from selling points as well.
Well, that's
Mr.
a good
Haslam.
point, because look at Alani that they've been selling since forever ago and will sell until it expires.
Yep.
But normally, if that situation were to happen to anybody else, they'd be bankrupt and they would have closed that resort. But they have no problem renting Alani rooms. That is one of the most popular hotels on Alani, so that does make sense. That tracks.
Okay, this one's just kind of a fun one. And in no means are we going to overthrow the DVC voting government. But so control of the association. So basically, according to the public offering statement, DVD, so Disney Vacation Development, is the authorized voting representative for each unit. So each unit is each resort. And they are the ones that cast the vote at the condo association on behalf of all members. But based on that, so they have full voting control pretty much. So basically, it is possible for, like somebody else to take control, I guess, of the voting. But basically what you have to do is you have to instruct in writing in advance of the meeting, and enough owners have to basically like sign off on it that own that unit. It's like 60% of the ownership. So basically, if I wanted to be the voting voice of Boardwalk Villas, I have to own there. And then I have to get 60% of the membership to basically like back me up in writing. So I thought that was interesting, but obviously it's not something you want to do because it would be quite hectic, I think.
We've joked about it. We'd love Derek to become the president of the association.
Vero Beach
But could you imagine what you have to deal with at that point? Like you have to now deal
You're right, Derek. You're not talking. Oh, sorry.
Right. Oh, and this is 60% of the ownership of the points. So like you have to get 60% of the point ownership together.
Yeah.
We're talking like millions.
It's funny that you brought this, because this came up at the condo association meeting last year. There were two people that asked when they wait in line to ask the questions at the end. The first question was, will Polly be part of the new associate or, existing association? And then the two behind him were like, how do we be the board? Because we don't necessarily agree with what you're doing. And it was almost like the air got sucked out of the room for a minute, because you could tell they didn't have enough time to explain what actually needed to take place. And so they just kind of pulled it over and said, it's in the contracts and blah, 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 blah. And
it never works out well when the crew asks the captain, how can we do mutiny? The captain doesn't usually give the right information.
Right. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really pretend to know the technicalities of it, but it is written there and it is a thing.
No offense, but
how can we overthrow you?
Like our HOA recently took over. Like in Florida, we have homeowners associations. Okay. And this is maybe a good example. Maybe it's not, but certain developers at the end of their building process do turn over the association to basically the residents. Our community has had such a tough time of figuring this stuff out. Like, we have people quitting left and right. I don't want a part of it. Nope. So-and-so's complaining. Don't get me involved in that. I ain't going to go knock on their door and tell them their grass is too high. Like, it is like this is legitimately the thing. And I don't think people that ask this question, maybe at the condo association, realize like, okay, you're now responsible for negotiating with the cast members who do housekeeping. You're now responsible for the full maintenance. You got to figure out, okay, what's the insurance? Like,
you just don't know what's
this.
Involved.
Like, you just really don't want this.
It takes a company.
Yeah.
Although Although anyone that's interested in helping me with a coup for the boardwalk to get a good sports bar and brewery, email me.
We have the space, or at least we know where it's at. Okay.
It's behind that food truck.
All right. So that was actually, if you want to read more about that and see in those articles, the first one's called DVC Rules You Might Not Know About, I think. And the other one's called DVC Rules You Might Not Know About Part 2. So you can search for those in DVC Fan and they will pop up. And in Part 1, the first one, I pulled out all the language and have screenshots of all the documents in case you want to read the actual documentation. But anyway, this one's a little different. It's not quite focusing on the home resort rules and regulations and the public offering statements. This is more just general things that I think some people tend to forget. And so these are things like holding points. What do you need to know about holding points? So we have points in holding right now, and I think Jeff has points in holding right now. And a lot of people don't realize if you cancel a stay after 31 days before check-in, so 30 days or less, your points are going to go into holding, right? But there is a point where you lose them altogether. Is that day of? If you cancel day of. Yeah. Okay. So 30 to 1 day. Okay.
You have to cancel 1 day before check-in.
Your points go into the holding. We think of it like a penalty box of canceling late. And when that happens, you can still book them, but you can only book them 60 days out. It is a 60-day rolling window. So, so just because, something you want isn't 60 days out yet, you can wait a little longer until it gets into that window. But at 60 days, availability, can be scarce. So it can be a little bit of a challenge. And then the other things that are important to know about holding points is that no matter what, they expire at the end of the use year that you used them in last. And you cannot bank them, you can't borrow them, you can't transfer them or anything like that. There is a way to get your points out of holding, and it's a little hard to explain. I'm not going to explain it in this video because I did a DVC tip of the week and I explained it in 1 minute, less than 1 minute. So
where can someone find the DVC tip of the week, Amy?
I am glad you asked. Now I sound like an infomercial. They are located in the DVC YouTube channel, and they are located under the shorts section.
Where else?
I'm not good with social media, so that's all I know. I think Instagram, maybe the Tickety Talk, but I don't really know how to use that.
I've seen it on the Tickety Talk.
It's on the Tickety Talk.
And I got to tell you, so Paul, it was Paul's idea. I thought it was a great idea, but I wanted it to work for every platform. So in order for that to happen, I was like, it has to be 1 minute or less. So I have to get out whatever I want to say in 1 minute or less. And I was like, I don't want to have to do these all the time. So I'm going to batch record a bunch of them. So I recorded 16 of them at a time, for 16 weeks. And Derek, this is why you run out of shirts. It's because you change your shirt all the time. I changed my shirt 16 times.
16 times.
Because, okay, we record 3 of these at once, and people know that, right? So I have the same shirt on. Most of you guys do, except for Derek.
Not everyone knew that.
You guys know. Okay, now you know. I do not wear this shirt 3 weeks in a row. But I was like, 16 weeks. That would get sketchy. Like, people would start to wonder why I had the same shirt on for 16 weeks. Don't you think?
We had someone come up to us at DVC Fan Summerfest, and they were like, you sit for the better part of 4 hours and record these shows? And I'm like, yeah, we do.
It's easier than once trying to find time every single week. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I changed my shirt 16 times.
I don't even think I have 16 shirts.
I have a lot of clothes, including a lot of clothes I need to dig out and find. But anyway, so I was losing my train of thought. I don't even know.
Anyhow, if you tune into Amy's tip of the week, they come out on Wednesdays, and she has a tip of the week telling you how you can get your points out of holding coming up very, very soon.
Right. I don't know which number that one is, but
I have no idea.
But it's coming up within the next 14 weeks because we're already two into the 16. So anyways, if you want to know how to get your points out of holding, Stay tuned to the DVC tip of the week.
Oh, it's week 4. It'll be up before this show even goes up.
Oh,
That's great.
Crap. I'm sorry. Well, so go back and find it. And now you'll know. All right. Moving on. So we already talked about transfer points. I don't know if I want to say much else about those. Let's move down to one-time use points.
We mentioned those earlier. What are those?
So one-time use points, a lot of people don't realize they exist, especially when they start talking about like, oh, can I get point transfers? What can I do? I'm short by this many points. So Disney will sell you up to 24 points once per use year. Now, and they have fluctuated in price. They used to be $19, then they went way up to like $22. And the first time I ever seen anything come down in price, they are now $20. Which is $17.77 plus $1.16 in tax, plus $1.07 in resort tax, just in case you were wondering what the breakdown was, even though you didn't ask. But one-time use points, basically, let's say you're booking a stay and you're a couple points short and you don't have anything left to borrow or bank, or maybe you just don't want to borrow or bank, you can call DVC and buy one-time use points. Now, you can only buy them at the 7-month window or less, so you can't use them for like a home resort booking. Basically, they're giving you just kind of like random points, like they're like Faro or Hilton Head or Alani points or whatever. You don't know what they are, although sometimes they randomly show up and make it look like you own at that resort. But they basically are just to kind of round out a reservation. So you need to be booking it at the time when you call, and they will add those points. They'll charge you for them, and then you'll move on your day.
We bought them for a reservation.
Oh, we've bought them multiple times when we first became DVC members. Like 3 or 4 times we bought one-time use points. So
anyone else ever bought any?
I never have.
Nope. Nope.
Wow, just us.
I just keep
guys.
borrowing. I'm in a constant state of borrowing.
You're getting better though. Like you're getting closer to. No, maybe.
Yeah. Next
Yes
year
and
will
no.
be better.
Okay, Derek, you're gonna say something.
No, I was just going to ask a question. You might have covered it, and maybe I didn't hear it. But can I buy one-time use points if I purchase my points on the resale market?
Oh, that is a great question, Mr. DeVore. And the answer to that is yes, you can. There's no restrictions on what type of owner you need to be to buy one-time use points. But something you do need to know about them is that you cannot get them refunded if you decide not to use them. You can cancel that stay and they will be in your account, so you can use them again, but they do expire at the end of whatever use year you bought them in.
Yeah.
I feel like we need like the commercial, like the more you know, like come up
No,
in between.
you know.
I know a guy that does commercials.
I heard he's pretty good. I can't wait to watch that commercial.
I know.
That's gonna be great.
That's going to come back to haunt him on this show. I don't know how or why, but it's happening.
So something else that comes up a lot in the message boards and groups is related to the maximum amount of days that you're allowed to book. And so a lot of people don't realize that when they first go to book a reservation, let's say that Panda wants to stay for 2 weeks and he's like ready. He's at the 11-month window. He's got his Riviera points ready. Panda is not going to be able to book 2 weeks. He's only going to be able to book 7 nights. So you can actually only book 7 consecutive nights at the 11-month window. And then as the next window opens up, you can add a day and add a day and add a day for as long as you need.
Okay.
So that's
I got
only at the
that.
11-month window that occurs. But there is a maximum amount of nights that you can stay on a single reservation. Does anyone know what that is before Paul put it up on the screen?
Is it 30?
It says it like 10 times too.
I'm going to say 30 days.
That
Wait, is 30
timing
days
was-
the same as 30 nights?
That timing was perfect. That was amazing.
30, yes. So you can only stay for a total of 30 before you have to check out. Now, you can check back into somewhere else, even the same resort and room category, but it might not be the same room. But
I love how this is related to like squatting.
it's squatting. Yeah, you can't squat.
Because your last sentence here said there might be a concern over living somewhere longer than 30 days and the ability to claim residency or tenancy, which I'm curious to see if this like still becomes a thing or if they start to expand this, because Florida recently cracked down on squatting
rights, yeah.
squatting rights. And so That's interesting.
That was just me making an assumption though, because there is something related to 30 days and residency. You know what I mean? So
I'd love to stay on a DVC for 30 days. That'd be great.
Could you imagine?
I see Jeff on the last day being like, he's got 24 hours to get me out. Otherwise I live here.
I just had an awesome member that listed probably close to 2,000 points with us for sale because he wound up buying a place down here. And he lives up in Michigan, but he would also take his time to come down here, during the Michigan winters. He would come down here and he would literally say, okay, these 2 weeks, it's just me. So I just need a studio. Then my kids and my, other family's going to come. Now we're going to do a 2-bedroom for 3 weeks. And then over the holidays, we're going to switch over to this resort.
Yeah.
So people do it. It is not that unique of a thing.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I feel like our international friends do that a lot because when they come for long periods of time too.
Right.
Somebody that had been here for 2 weeks from Germany.
Yeah. 3, sometimes 3 or more weeks. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that like snowbird at DVC resorts. And like you said, Derek, to maximize their points, they'll stay at a studio for so long and then they'll go to a 1-bedroom for a few nights and do laundry and then they'll go back to a studio. I mean, it just depends, but a lot of people do stuff like that.
There's been like 1 or 2 families too that have like done like Disney for a year, so they've stayed on Disney property in some capacity for a year. And they play the game between both cash bookings and DVC, but this rule comes into effect obviously for them, but also it's also playing the game of like, when do we need to do laundry? Okay, get the 1-bedroom. Like
if you spent a whole year at DVC and you did like 1 month at each resort, like you would have to me, I would have to sit down and strategize like, okay, I want to be at Copper Creek through December because Christmas is amazing there. And I want to be at Boardwalk during October because, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would want to be at certain resorts at certain times of the month. Bay Lake Tower during Halloween so that I can walk to the Halloween party and see the Halloween fireworks.
It'd be quite the project to like put that together.
Right. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about are reservations across use years. And this comes up sometimes when people go to book and they don't realize, but whatever your use year is matters. And you actually cannot book a reservation that crosses use years as a single reservation. So our use year, for example, is February. So our use year runs February 1st until January 31st. So if we have a stay that starts on, let's say, like January 28th, and ends on like February 3rd, we would have to book January 28th to January 30, or January 28th to February 1st as one stay, February 1st to whatever date I said before, 3rd as another stay. And then I don't even know if you could combine those if they're the same. Are you trying to look over the thing and be a creeper? It's like Wilson from Home Improvement. So you just gotta shake your eyes. Wow.
Jeff is scary.
Let's all see who can be the creepiest. So you cannot cross use years as a single booking. So some people don't realize that, and it can affect like how you're booking and
confusing.
How you show. It can be confusing.
Yeah. There's not going to be a pop quiz on this, is there?
There will be a quiz at the end.
I swear I heard a rumor once that the DVC wishes that they never did use years and that it's just really confusing and like it should have just all been here's your points.
Well, it's more confusing because there's not a use year for every month. Like I think it would be a little bit more logical then, but it's like I still to this day can't tell you how many people think that their points expire at the end of the calendar year. And it's like no matter how many ways I've tried to ask the question, it can always be confusing. Like the best way that I put it anymore is it's like, what day do your points magically appear in your account every year? Like that's the easiest way to kind of get near that question. But even some people are confused on that. And then some people think their points expire like when the banking deadline comes or it's just,
Or
it's,
even like February, like if you have a February use year, they think it's February 1st, but it's not. It's the day before that.
correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it
that
would be
gets
the
a
night.
lot. Yeah.
Your last night would
Yeah.
be like January 31st that you could stay on property.
I get a
those
lot of
points
people that
already.
get confused when their use year is December because it's so close to the
Oh,
next
that's the
calendar
worst.
year.
Yeah.
It blows people's minds. It's
You
really
are-
hard.
Yeah, it does.
You are always a year behind, and
Like
Literally,
literally only one
I've
month
got-
is in the normal year.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, I don't know the best way. I guess I could do that.
Uh-huh.
So like here, like this is what I do with people. Like I make charts and stuff with points when I kind of chart everything out. When
Those
someone's
people had
talking
to kill a dragonfly first.
exactly. But like
kind of look.
But like I have to like bucket points into certain brackets to figure out, okay, what are we talking about and will it work? The specific example right there was actually a great example similar to yours that you did with a February use year, where I had a gentleman that was looking to rent points and we had an opportunity to rent points, but the reservation was like January 26th to February 3rd.
Across use years.
And I had to kind of explain that he couldn't book that reservation because of that, no matter what he did. Like, even if he had the points in both use years and he wanted to use them,
right.
it couldn't be
Because
done.
you can't give a guest a split reservation
Correct,
that
yeah.
wants a whole reservation.
Yeah,
right. That's not what they're.
the guest is expecting to be able to stay in the same villa the entire time.
We're talking about this like it's normal, but I can't believe they can't have the system book the trip and say these points right here for these nights came from here and these nights came
Right.
from there. It just seems a little silly.
Oh, it's totally just the technology. And
They did
also
it to themselves.
And also, they're creating split stays on their own that don't need to happen, because people do jump use years. Like people will, like they're not going to let this, prohibit whatever they plan to do for their vacation. But now they are going to have to check out, and in some instances, they're going to have to check out of that room and check into a new room. And now housekeeping had to clean that room when they really didn't have to. Now they are good in certain circumstances of, marking the reservations and basically making it so that you're in the same room,
But
and
it's
not
never.
but there's
it's
never any guarantee.
Yeah.
It's just like when you call and you're trying to change your reservation or move something and you release a reservation and they're like, hey, someone could snag it in the next 0.2 milliseconds before I press enter. Like they have to give you that disclaimer to let you know that that's a possibility. So.
Yeah. That's all I got.
And-
What's
So
up?
here I was just going to add too that if anybody out there watching, and again, we have such a great audience and a lot of folks, because I hear them all the time, will say, we just love watching the show. We're not a member yet. Don't let all of this stuff kind of confuse you or make you think that the club is super confusing or anything else. We're just having fun. So there's a lot of, DVC nerds out there that we love to talk about this stuff and kind of go deep in the weeds. But again, that's what we're here for. So at the, DVC resale market, reach out to us with any questions. If you're just learning how this club works, we promise you, it really is at the end of the day, a very simple, easy to use club. This is just fun, nerdy stuff that we like to do from time to time.
Yeah. That is a great disclaimer. Yeah. And honestly, Paul and I successfully used our membership for several years without knowing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
We were not smart members in the beginning either. So
right. You
don't-
have to learn and experience, experience by
Learn-
learning or
learn by doing.
Right.
Whatever.
that's all I got. So, class dismissed, I guess.
Hey, that was a good class. Yeah. If you have questions about any of these rules, or if you think of any yourself, please put those in the comments. As always, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more, and also head to dvcfan.com so that you can read these articles that Amy wrote. They go into a little bit more detail on everything related to the rules that we discussed, and a little bit more than what I was putting up on screen for those of you actually watching the show.
And what email do you guys want me to send the quiz to?
John at bigfatpanda.com.
All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this, and we didn't bore you too much. I thought it was fun, but
hold on.
I found your homework.
I have no idea how that just happened.
Nice work, Jeff.
I don't know what else to do, but I'll tell you all that we enjoyed talking with you, and we will see you all next Monday.